4 years since the Steam Deck, 2 years of the OLED, new handhelds everywhere, and somehow this one refuses to be replaced. Everyone keeps asking what's next after the Steam Deck OLED, but no one talks about why we're still not done with it. I've been playing and playing and playing, and after all this time I keep coming back to it. In today's video, let's go over how the Steam Deck OLED holds up in 2026. I've made plenty of videos about the Steam Deck OLED through 2025. Yet, here we are in 2026 with more competition than ever, and many people still run to this device when they want a good handheld. And there are a couple of reasons why, I think. First thing I just wanted to say is the feel in hand is still one of the best. I've tried many different handhelds, even those that came out pretty recently, and this is still the one, that feels so good in hand. I feel like it's really made for the human hand, really made ergonomically well, and I just feel like when you hold it in hand, it just feels very comfortable because everything is just right where your hands pretty much fit. For example, here, as you can see, this is not straight on, this is like a nice smooth surface, so it's nicely where the palm of the hand goes. You have a nice grip on here, so everything just feels really good. And to be honest, while it isn't the smallest handheld, it does definitely feel like it's one of the lighter, just makes it that much more ergonomic in my opinion. So the feel in hand, when you get it in hand, you just hold it, it really feels so nice to have. Especially compared to the older handhelds that were younger than this, but like Asus ROG Ally or the Lenovo Legion Go, I just felt like this is one that really felt the best. Even compared to something like the Nintendo Switch 2, I still prefer this much more over the newer Nintendo Switch. But also the button placement, I feel like it's really perfectly made. It's right where your thumbs are. When you're holding the controller like this is where your hands go, because let's be honest, when playing on a handheld without real proper grips, you kind of have your thumbs really high, so having them a little bit higher just makes it that much more comfortable. It's like a full motion instead of trying to move it here. That is one of the problems I have with the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, is that thumbstick on the right is too low and just feels uncomfortable to move, where this is perfectly fine a little bit higher. Even though at first I thought it looks funny with all the buttons on the top, it just feels the best. So the first impression is definitely amazing in hand. Second off is the screen itself. This is an OLED display. It is only 800p, where you're comparing to competition 2026 where Nintendo Switch 2 has a full HD screen. Some screens go even above a full HD screen, so 1080p and more. Well, in this case, it is only 800p, but at the same time, I feel like at a screen at this size, it still feels super sharp. So there is no problem with that in my opinion. Literally, if you're playing a game on this size of a screen, well, yes, if you look at each individual pixel and you're trying to, notice the pixels, you're gonna notice them. But at the same time, at this size, it really feels so nice. And the OLED display as a whole has beautiful colors, reproduction, overall really good, rich colors, nice blacks. The contrast is definitely there, so the screen itself is a really big benefit. That's why I highly recommend you get the Steam Deck OLED and not the Steam Deck LCD if you can, because it really makes the difference. And also it has up to 90 Hz, and I know other handhelds have 120, for example Nintendo Switch, but I feel like for the games that I have on here, I'm probably either gonna play games that are a little bit heavier, so I'm not gonna really push the frame rates that much, or they're lighter and I can put it up to 60 or 90 frames per second and it's still gonna look super silky smooth. So in my opinion, the screen itself is a really nice addition, and it's big enough that if you're playing somewhere, you can play really well. It doesn't feel like you're trying to see what is on the screen. So I feel like this is a perfect kind of combination. The screen, the OLED, the 90 Hz, and the whole, weight of it and the ergonomics of it are just incredible. And I feel like even in 2026, the consoles aren't really, pushing it too much. I mean, I feel like this is still one of the best, if not the best setup out there. The Xbox Ally X is a really comfortable console. I'm gonna have to give it to that because of the extra grips, but because of that, it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit heavier, and the screen is smaller, so it's like a trade-off. It depends on what you need. And it's a different system, Windows 11 versus SteamOS, which we're gonna talk about in a second, but overall, I feel like this is still, I would say, the one to get because of that. Another thing is the price to performance ratio of this. You see, you can get much better handheld consoles at the moment. The Lenovo Legion Go 2, for example, is a beast of a console in terms of handhelds, but you're gonna pay a big price for it. And I feel like I would rather get this and like a PS5 than get something like an Xbox Ally X, which is phenomenal, but it costs way more. So I would rather get this and a PS5 at the price of the Xbox One X. That is just my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, but I feel like I would rather have a really good home console and a really mature handheld gaming device that really, you know, has its strengths too. But I guess it's gonna be personal opinion at this point. My personal opinion is I would rather get this and a PS5 instead of just one handheld, but everyone has their own opinions on it. But like I said, I feel like the price to performance is the best. In terms of, you know, how much this costs and how much performance you can get out of it, really, even in 2026, it is phenomenal. Yes, it's not as strong as the Z2 Extreme chip on the Lenovo Legion Go 2, but it is much cheaper than it. So you have to really look at the price to performance ratio to really understand how good this is in terms of a deal. I mean, you can literally play AAA games like Assassin's Creed Mirage, for example, I've been playing on this, or Assassin's Creed Shadows. You can play older games like Red Dead Redemption at 45 frames per second, which is incredible in my opinion. There's a huge library of games you can play on here at a really nice settings. Some games even work better on this than like a modern gen console if they did not get a next generation update. And because this is a PC in the body of a console, you can really set it up the way you want to. And with that, I have to talk about the competition in 2026, because when this released, there wasn't much of a competition, especially the Steam Deck, the original one, the LCD. It dropped pretty much after the Switch, which was like the first bigger, you know, stronger handheld. Then was this. And it felt like it wasn't for everyone. For example, if you have the Nintendo Switch 2, it is a different story. It is a little bit more modern and maybe even more powerful in a way, but really, it depends on how you look at it. It is in a closed ecosystem, so if you don't like the games that the Nintendo Switch 2 offers, you're pretty much in a bad situation, because this has a much bigger catalog of games, pretty much even just natively, just the Steam store allows you to have a huge catalog of amazing AAA games and smaller games, indie games, and best of all, at a great price, because there's so many great, you know, sales on the games. You can get AAA games for just a couple of dollars at some point. So like you have the summer, spring, winter, fall, and all the other sales in between. So there's a huge catalog of games. You can get really cheap, really good games, really high quality, and even if something is last gen, it's gonna work perfectly fine because you can set it up the way you want to, because this is a PC. On the Switch, you're gonna have to want to have a next generation update or a game that is made for the Nintendo Switch 2. And if we talk about Lenovo Legion Go 2 or Xbox One X, well, they do have a benefit of bigger libraries. For example, you can play all the Steam games and also the Xbox, EA, everything in between. You can play those games natively on the Xbox and the Lenovo Legion Go. I feel like at the same time the Windows experience isn't as seamless as the SteamOS, so it's a little bit different. And like I said, those two are much more pricey, so it really is gonna be affecting that. And on this console you can play different games too. I have Ubisoft Connect to it, so I can play Assassin's Creed games natively on this. You can also add in the Epic Store, so there's gonna be much more games for you to play with. I personally think this is one of like the best of both worlds, having a lot of games, good quality, not too heavy, not too pricey, works great. The SteamOS really feels like a console experience. You just turn it on. I love that you can just put it down to sleep and it goes to sleep. It's just perfect. So in conclusion, I feel like this is still one of the best handhelds you can get in 2026. I'm really curious what you guys think about it. What are your thoughts about it? Because I feel like everyone has a different opinion on this, but I do feel like the Steam Deck OLED is the one to get in 2026 still. Because just the price to performance, and with the prices of PCs going up and up every single day pretty much, and the RAM prices and everything, this becomes an even better deal every single day. So yeah, if you are on the edge and you're thinking about getting this, just think about the games that you play and check out on YouTube if those games were great or bad or just work at all on this. If so, I can highly recommend you get the Steam Deck OLED. It's one of the best handhelds you can get out there on the market. Unless you really want to have that Nintendo Switch games that are just natively best on it, then in that case you know what to do. But in other cases, I would highly recommend getting the Steam Deck OLED. I feel like it's still the one to get in 2026. With that being said, let me know in the comment section down below what do you think. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.